This is Konganaya outside of Demico, the western pavement of Demico, and they are of course performing some cultural shoots Saturday morning. dog now bite me. Oh, dog now bite me. Oh, dog now bite me. Oh, dog now bite me. Sister Palmer, hold your dog. Old dog now bite me. He bite him master, but he won't bite me. Old dog now bite me. Sister Palmer, hold your dog. Old dog now bite me. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam, coming to you live from the studios of KAMSTV located in Buxton, and coming to you live on Facebook, that social media platform which has proven to be so useful to those of us who live in a country where democracy is a talk of the tongue, but action speaks louder than words. And so you come to realize that when they talk about democracy, they're talking about mockery. Them a mock we. Right? Them a mock away. And so, away, so far, we have chosen to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as they take us for a royal ride. All citizens, regardless of race, color, or creed, are holding the shortened end of the stick. Some of us like to call it the shitty end of the stick. But we are happy with that because we are good, homegrown Guyanese citizens, and we like to ensure that our society is one of peace and cohesiveness. We like to ensure that we don't come across as racists in our utterances, and we like to come across as very good law-abiding citizens who respect the rule of law and respect the tenets of a democratic society. And so, in order to ensure we maintain that facade, well, it might be a facade, I'm not sure. Lots of us just suck it up. And so things get to continue as normal. What am I talking about? I recognize the several workers have gotten $250,000. Yes, they have gotten their money. Have the frontline workers gotten their risk allowances? Not that I'm aware. You recognize that Vishnu Prasad was selected to be appointed the new Chief Elections Officer? I'm sure you did. Are you aware that he was the least qualified person? I am sure you did. I'm sure you are aware. Did you hear the current chair of GCOM say that Vishnu was chosen because of an endorsement from Steve Surajbali? Hey, yaga. Oi. Right? Did you know all of that? Are you aware of all of that? I am sure you are. But are you aware of the fact that so long as you sit and do nothing about what we consider the abuse of state power,
we are going to remain disadvantaged, oppressed, and in a dictatorship. Some people call it a constitutional dictatorship. Is that what they call it? Is there anything such as a democratic dictatorship? I don't know. But I know for a fact that this, what we are calling a democracy, is nothing but dictatorship. If you think you heard it all, did you hear Jack Doe say that the Oversight Committee for the Natural Resource Fund is too damn big and cumbersome? In other words, there are too many people to humbug me and my cohorts. We don't want that humbug. 22 persons to check and see what we're doing with the country's natural resources money? No. That can't happen. I won't have it. I am going to destroy that committee. And when I'm done destroying it, I will select by a show of hands who I want to have oversight over that money, or who I want to pretend to have oversight over that money. You all heard that? The question is, what have you decided to do about all of these things which are happening? I can tell you all straight up, don't wait on the opposition to give guidance. And when I say the opposition, I'm talking about what we might consider being the risk. Don't take me off my thought pattern this morning, because like you come for aggravate me this morning. I mean, let him try and change it. Huh? I'm going to come back to you, man, because I don't understand what you're talking about. Let him try and change it. I've heard this talk before. Let her try a thing now. As the song says, touch a button now. Touch a button. How many buttons of this install cabal touched? What y'all do about it? Kiss me teeth. Let me say, don't wait on the official opposition to give you guidance on how to deal with it, because the guidance certainly, for me, doesn't make any sense. That's my point. And when I talk about the official opposition, I'm talking about those political parties that are in parliament. Because they are in parliament, right? They are constitutional officers. Parliament is a constitutional body. Harmon is the leader of the opposition in parliament. Christopher Jones is the opposition chief whip. And you have a number of shadow ministers in the National Assembly, in parliament, long and short. Then he's like, call it parliament. There's a difference, but let's keep it that way. Right? Then we're going to get by. Relax. So these are the official opposition elements. And so when I said don't rely on the opposition elements, the official opposition elements, and guidance as to how to deal with this thing, I am saying don't rely on the AFC and the PNC and what's Schumann party name? Right? Schumann party and so on. Don't rely on them. Don't rely on them. Because if you were paying attention over the weekend, you'll come to realize why it is we are right where we are. And some people can't recognize it. So I'm going to give you a little history. First and foremost, the official leader of the opposition, Dramon, and a lot of his members of his team in parliament have no interest in protests. According to Harmon, protest is a waste of time. It doesn't achieve anything. Right? But there are different forms of protest. Writing letters is a form of protest. Boycotting meetings is a form of protest. Sitting out of parliament, picketing the parliament, they are all forms of protest. Shouting down in front of ministry, targeting a ministry, is a form of protest. But Harman cannot find a single method of protest that is effective. Y'all hear me? And so Harman say, and a lot of those who are singing the songs of Harman, and say, hey, I ain't just in protest, it's a waste of time. In short, if you have no interest in protest, and the constitutional agencies are not working in your favor, you are wasting time. You are wasting time. The National Assembly meets today, now that I come to think about it. And I'm talking about this waste time. Right? National Assembly meets today, I'm sure. The 13th. And the very place that these people go to sit as a constitutional body and represent the interests of the people is the very place where the efforts are nullified. That ain't making sense. Except perhaps it goes on the hand side that they try a thing and they didn't succeed. Let me tell you, for example, Patterson, David Patterson, former Minister of Public Infrastructure, right? The man who had responsibility for GPL and oil to shore and stuff like that. Submitted a motion more than 3 months ago to the National Assembly to question the cabal on its gas to shore plans and programs. Right? 3 months ago. And since Parliament is due to sit today, private members' day it is. And so private members will have their say. They will get to raise issues and talk about them and so on and so forth. The speakers indicated to Patterson, in my own words, don't think you're going to get your way here today. That motion which you have filed is out of order. Let the boy know your place. The motion out of order. So the speaker stepped in to prevent the cabal answering questions and making clear to the public what they are doing about this gas to shore project, which is costing Guyanese an arm and a leg. Right? An arm and a leg. Listen to GPL recently. How many $1 billion they need? Listen. Dindia said the other day, GPL cannot guarantee any increase of salaries. Even if they were going to get help from the government to pay the 7% back pay, they have no means of sustaining the increase in salary for its workers. Right? Dindial said that. And very shortly after, Dindial also said that they're going to need billions of dollars to spend, to prepare GPL. To prepare GPL for the natural gas transition. Good? So this has to be in some way, somewhere in my mind, I'm thinking, this has to be some component of the government's gas to shore plan, which is already costing Guyanese a whole lot of money. But the representatives of the people can't get clarification in the National Assembly about what this plan is exactly. Because the bottom, the lowest you can be, the Nadir, has stepped in and said to Patterson, your motion is out of order. We will not hear it. Right? So, I'm using this to show you how much sense the official opposition is making in the National Assembly. More than 6 months ago, German Figuera, the Rastafarian MP, the dreadlocked MP from Linden, the Saga Boy MP from Linden, submitted questions for Sitara Gal and Brock Ben, rape in Parliament, and throw down in front of Artichon Convention Center. Brock Ben and Sitara Gal. Questions were submitted by Figuera. These questions are still on the order paper, but 6 months after, they have not been answered. 6 months after, they have not been answered. But Harman says there's no value in protest. My interpretation, lest he say he didn't say so, there's no value in protest. And so while all of that is happening, GCOM is fixed. Monies are given out, grants are given to people in a discriminatory manner. Jagdeo planning to break up the Oversight Committee for the Natural Resource Fund. Harman says there's no value in protest. And they will continue to go to Parliament. That's what they're doing. They continue to go to Parliament. What if you think Harman alone is the problem? Check the news. The ASC has welcomed the identification, and if he is not appointed yet, soon to be appointed, Vishnu Prasad as its new Chief Elections Officer. The FCSS has said, we welcome the appointment of Vishnu Prasad, despite the fact that he's the least qualified. That's my clarification there. And we also think that more needs to be done to restore trust at GCOM. So sure, the AFC is saying, like the PPP, there has been a breach of trust at yes. Yes. I'm on my program. I will get off at 9 o'clock. Yes. So the AFC agrees that there has been some amount of distrust, breach of trust at GCOM. But what they have also pointed out to me is that there's no commonality, no oneness of strategy and thinking and position taking and approach to dealing with this cabal and all that it is doing. As far as I'm concerned, this is about positioning to milk whatever is coming to this country by way of the oil resources and whatever other forms of development. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of people talking about the next election, and people still talking about coalition. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm putting you on guard. Don't hold your breath to think that the AFC and the PNC will be in any coalition for the next election. Don't hold your breath. Because I'm starting to conclude that that band of people we call the AFC are ready. They've always been ready to go to the highest bidder. I said it, yes, I said it. Charandas put us where we are. He went to the highest bidder. Today he couldn't even be a minister in the AP and UFC coalition government. They didn't appoint him a minister. I don't think he was appointed an advisor. He was just a mere member of parliament. And that was not lucrative enough. So when the order was placed, the offer was placed, the casrip was placed on a platter before him, he couldn't resist. And so his services went to the highest bidder. His services went to the highest bidder. Previously, I discussed with you information I received of the AFC concocting plans with the PPP to horse trade for chairmanship and vice chairmanship of certain regions, regional democratic councils. Because of that open discussion, a lot of it was thwarted, I would want to believe. But there's still an ongoing battle in those very RDCs. Region 4 RDC, there's an ongoing battle. Recently, we saw 2 no-confidence motions submitted. One against the chairman, one against the vice chairman. Both APNU representatives, PNC representatives. One would believe that if these people are in a partnership, they will at least sit and discuss the approach to issues as important as. And you don't wait until it has happened and so you're caught off guard to make a comment. You discuss ahead of it happening, with a possibility of it happening. And so you have a quote-unquote convincing position. The PNC barring at the appointment of Vishnu Prasad. Representing the opposition have agreed that they should consider going to court to challenge his appointment. If the 3 commissioners can consult with each other and come to one position, what's wrong with the AFC and the PNC? Why they can't sit as they are in partnership and discuss this issue and decide how will we move forward should this happen or that happen? And so the opposition is a bunch of masqueraders at Christmas time. And so don't look to them for guidance. They don't know the head from the tail. Right now the PNC is about Congress. And who is the better leader? Well, I see Charles Series dig lashing some people in making the case why they should not be leaders. Right? Don't depend on them. They can't give you guidance on this. As I want to say, go with your heart. What your heart tells you. Should you sit back and allow GCOM to appoint the least qualified person as chief elections officer? Have you considered the implications? He's a creature of those who ensure that he was appointed. And so he will, out of gratitude, if nothing else, be doing their biddings. And we know he has always been doing their biddings. That alone is reasons for concern. When you consider the authority of the chief elections officer in the preparation for the hosting of and the reporting on elections in this country, to accept this which took place in the last few days and say we welcome it is saying that you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. You're encouraging citizens to accept wrongdoings. And the lady at GCOM said, I appointed this man based on the recommendation of Steve Surabali. Did we see anywhere in the advertisements of these vacancies, did we see any of the criteria being a recommendation from a former chairman of the Elections Commission? So long as the price is right, listen, I do references. I do testimonials to people. I don't charge for them, I do them free. But I know that there are many persons who will do a testimonial for a cost. And so long as the price is right, you can get anything you want. There are some people when they show up in front of me for testimonial, I find all the reasons why I can't give it to them. Because I'm not going to put my credibility on the line. But I'm questioning the credibility of Steve Surabali. Just like I'm questioning the credibility of Claudette Singh. And everybody else involved in this process. Well, we see that Conrad ain't got no credibility. His wife has said that. He masquerading as one thing in the public, but he got serious issues in private. He got no credibility. He has no moral standing. A man who is looking after his children, he got moral authority to talk about anything else. You can get anything you want in this country from certain people once the price is right. And so who is to tell me that that testimonial did not come at the right price? But the least qualified is appointed based on a testimonial. Based on a testimonial, according to Claudette. And people are good enough. People are accepting that. What's the role of citizens in all of this? What shall we do? We shall hold the shitty end of the stick at the end of the day. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? The fix is in. The CEO has been selected and by now appointed. What will we do about it? The gerrymandering is continuing. The gerrymandering is continuing. The positioning and repositioning of state agencies is continuing. And at the end of that all, Jagdio, the PPP, cabal, and the cohorts will go smiling into the sunshine with all of our patrimony. And we will be left holding the shitty end of the stick unless we're prepared to do something about it. Political action, national action, revolutionary action. Revolution means change. Actions that will result in change in this society is as much the responsibility of every citizen as it is the responsibility of political and social leaders. Right? Each and every one of us, they say all are involved, all are consumed. Each and every one of us has a responsibility to do something about this situation in this country. We cannot allow it to continue. And I'm saying to you again, like I've been saying for the year plus, organize your communities. Organize your communities. Show a willingness to put your shoulders to the wheel to organize your communities. And let us bring those organized communities together and say to the government of the day, say to the actors of state, including the opposition elements, enough is enough. We have had enough and we're not going to take any more. We have had enough and we're not going to take any more. But Marley said, give them an inch, take a yard. Give them a yard, they take a mile. Well, I think they've taken many, many miles right now. Because we continue to give them. And we get nothing in return. What will we do? Dr. Hines like to say, don't tell people about anything now. Christmas in their head. When the Glasgow asked what can we do, I just said what we can do. Christmas in your head, according to Dr. Hines. So you're going to consider protest now. You're going to consider confronting this situation now. But I am positing, I'm saying to you, this is the time. This is the time when the cabal and the cohorts expect to have a good time on the backs of Guyanese. When the businessmen of Regent Street expect to gouge, they expect to take every cent of your pocket from your 7%, the $2,000 every month salary. They expect to have a good time at your expense. Those who are enabling the PPP and the nonsense and the actors of the PPP, they expect to have a good time at your expense this time. And so this is the time to take action. This is the time to take action. Let me tell you how you could do it. I tell you how you could do it if you don't know how you should do it. All the contractors that got multi-million-dollar contracts under this administration through nepotism and cronyism, the checks got to be paid by the end of this month or by the 15th, a couple days from now. A lot of them are expecting payments, whether it's first payment or second payment, whatever payment. It is human to err. Make some mistakes on the payment voucher. Make some mistakes on the check requisition. You know what I'm saying? You make them mistakes and bundle the system. So when these mistakes are made, the payments can't come in time for them to have a good time. Long faces. Flaring emotions. That will be the end result. And a lot of falling out. So start doing that. I'm telling you how to do it. Make an error of omission or an error of commission. And so, they can't get nice time from the Treasury, at least not in December. There's one step you can take. The other step you can take is keep your money in your pocket. Keep your money in your pocket. As we've been saying, buy just what you need. Buy what you need. And as much as you can buy it from within your community, buy it within your community. Hey, I fancy eating a shine rice with bush fish on Christmas Day. Because I've done it before. It's called delayed gratification. It doesn't have to, you don't have to splurge for December 23rd, 24th, 25th, and thereabout and so on. Withhold your money. You could splurge during the new year. And by the time the new year comes, you will realize, hey, I got better use for this money. It might find itself in an investment that will provide profits for the rest of the year. Don't let them get nice time while oppressing you. Today is private members' business in front of at the parliament. We believe they're wasting time. We should go there and tell them they're wasting time. They want to protest, you protest them. They don't want to protest, you protest them. You see, I met Charles Series once. I had reason to go visit him because we were having a certain discussion. I met him once. And from that day, I developed tremendous respect for that man and his honesty and his plain talk. I saw a video with him dealing with the little boy Ramson. Over this weekend, I saw him dealing with Harmon and Williams. It might be unpleasant truths. It might be unpleasant truth, but sometimes we have to face these unpleasantness if we're going to come out stronger. If we are going to come out stronger, we have to face them. And so if the opposition is not doing what the opposition is expected to do, they don't want protests, show them the impact of protests. Embarrass them with protests. The government is messing with you, you mess with the government. It is human to err. You can't tell me I made it wasn't a human error. If something is written incorrectly on the check requisition or the where they use to sign off on work done and so on. But even if you don't want to do that, you can do this because you have control of your pocketbook. Withhold your money. Don't spend. And so all of the containers of goods that are lined up to come off of the wharf, let them come off. You can't stop that. You might not be able to stop it. But they will certainly remain on the shelf. You can ensure that they remain on the shelf. Right? These are things we have to see as options. Like I said, protest has many forms. Not everybody wants to go there and bear the sun and shout at the top of their voice, but find other means and ways of adding to the impact of the protest. You know what I've seen being effective in other countries? Motor vehicle operators deciding that they are going to go at dead slow speed. And you cause such a traffic backup that it takes hours to clear, and so business is slowed. And if that were to happen every day, they ain't gonna get a nice time. Bring out your old vehicle and show it broke down. And show it broke down at a busy intersection. And it broke down in such a way that nothing can pass until the vehicle gets pushed off or towed off of the road. They are all forms of protest. Protest is intended to disrupt the norm. And I'm saying to you, Guyanese have to start disrupting the norm. Because so far the PPP is having its way. It's doing everything that it wants to do. And there's no pushback. There's no challenge. There's no obstacle. There's no bump in the road. Lots of other things we can talk about. But I want to stop shortly. But let me tell you, I saw a video last night with James Bond balling. Balling. Got so heated that he had to turn to the local language. Cuss up. Said I got two Guyana. Because while he was able to go to certain places a few nights prior, and he stopped short of saying party into the morning with live band and so on. His event featuring live band last night was stopped at 10 o'clock by the task force. And so he came to realization, Eureka, I found that Rip Van Winkle as a waiting. They got two Guyana. The other night I went out and I got a party into the morning. And I've seen a whole lot of places hosting a whole lot of things into the morning. But I getting stopped at 10 o'clock when the curfew really is at, what, 12 or 11? Oh, shoots. They got two Guyana. Because I'm operating out of Melanie. That's why they're doing me that. And like you rightly recognize, when they do that to businesses located in black communities, they are robbing those communities of income. Because like he rightly said, since he set up his operation in Melanie, millions of dollars are now making its way to Melanie. People are going to Melanie and they're spending a lot of money. A lot of small businesses are benefiting as spring off from James Bond's presence, his club. And so the cabal, the wicked and vindictive, in their attempt to ensure that black people get nothing in the society, are putting a spoke into the wheels of James Bond and all of those small businesses. Because once we shut down James Bond, everything else gets shut down. And so forget that the curfew starts at 11 or 12. Shut him down at 10. Forget that the other places went until 2 o'clock the night before. Shut him down at 10. Forget that on the same night that we're shutting him down at 10, there are other events within the earshot of where we are that will be allowed to go until wee hours of the morning. Right? Two Guyana. But the existence of two Guyana can only be a reality for as long as we have people who are allowing it to happen. And those people, you can find them in the opposition. They are allowing the existence of two Guyana because they don't see the value of protest. Right now it's Congress. Whenever Congress ends, on the 18th, y'all come to Kidam's place, sideline down Buxton, and let's have a good after Congress party. I don't know what time they're going to shut it down, but yeah, come let we have some hanging time. Kidam's place after Congress line on the 18th. Right? I know they got two Guyana. So I expect that it might get shut down. I don't know when. I don't know how. I don't know by who. But the possibility is it might get shut down. That's my reality. Right? But you always put them to the test so that they will show their hands. Good? And so I'm welcoming you all on the 18th. Come let me line after Congress line. The lines are open 6225933. Is the number to call. Call and let's talk about it. Turn back. Morning, neighbor. Morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. It is 7 hours 6 on the 20th of December in the year 2021. Welcome. We're broadcasting from KAMSTV in Buxton and coming to you live on Facebook. I do hope that you've had a restful and rewarding weekend. I trust that you had a restful night and you are energized to start a new week of toil, a new week of agitation, a new week of resistance, a new week of learning, a new week of teaching, and a new week filled with possibilities for growth and development and success and emancipation. Welcome to BUXTONIAN Morning Time. Let me start by saying I know a lot of you are basking in the sunshine, a lot of you are happy, a lot of you are celebrating, you're in the celebratory mood. Aubrey Norton has been elected leader of the People's National Congress. Do they still carry the reform? As in PNCR, People's National Congress reform? I'm not sure, but y'all forgive me. Remember, I'm not a member of the PNC. I just only mind their business. And some parts of the business I really don't mind. Right? But congratulations, Mr. Norton, Aubrey Norton, for winning the race to the leadership of the People's National Congress. Congratulations for basically effecting a clean sweep. 9 out of 10 regions. That's. I wonder if this vote puts Aubrey Norton right up there as the most popular or most popularly elected leader of the People's National Congress. There are lots of things I can draw upon from that experience, that observation, and we are going to certainly talk about them. It's the first time, I think, in living history, quite frankly. I don't know how many congresses they have had where they had to go to elections and with a whole host of challenges. I know for a fact while Forbes Barnum was alive, most likely if you went to Congress, the leader was re-elected re-elected unanimously. I don't know that there were all of these challenges to Barnum's leadership. If anybody has information to that extent, you can share it with me because I'm yet a toddler in this business, right? But I don't remember Barnum ever being challenged to the leadership of the PNC. And then Hart came, and then is when I knew the challenges started. Hammy challenged Hart and was unceremoniously, well, I was about to say unceremoniously kicked out, but the responses he got, I think he left the party. Again, I'm not a PNC's historian, so I might have some of these facts a little bundled. But Hammy left the party, or was excommunicated from the party as a result of challenging Hart and things not going his way. And then Hart was still there, and I am sure there were other challenges. I can't remember. No, Norton intended to challenge perhaps Robert Corbin at some point in time, but then he pulled out of the race, pulled out prematurely, and so on. But you've had some challenges which saw people like Shamus Solomon getting banished, Vanessa Kissoon, and so on. But in living history, as far as I remember, when it came to challenges that led to a contest for the leadership of the party, I think this would be the biggest win. David Granger barely pulled it off. And there are many who are close to the party and who have been perhaps involved in shenanigans back then can tell you that he pulled it off under questionable circumstances. I think up to now, Greenwich is bruised from that experience. I don't want to say bitter, but certainly bruised from that experience. Yes. I think that was a bitter pill for Carl. I don't know if you could only revisit history, if anything would have been different if it had not gone that way. But the fact is, this is the first Congress, the first election for leadership in the PNC that has been held, in my mind, with such high standards, with such integrity, I can say. Not to say that there might not have been minor challenges here and there, but at the end of the day, the process seemed to be well organized. It seemed to be well oiled. The results were timely, and up until now, I don't hear anybody casting aspersions at anyone for cheating or requesting a recount and so on. And so I want to also congratulate the Chief Elections Officer, Mr. Vincent Alexander, who is also the longest serving GCOM commissioner in this country. And so he knows elections, and he has done a splendid job. By that, the PNC has perhaps shown itself to be one of the more democratic political parties in the country. Certainly more democratic than the PPP, who is its closest rival. Right? They have had an election for leader. There was not a selection for leader. They've had persons elected to the Central Executive Committee not a selection for people to the Central Executive Committee or whatever the PPP has. So if you put these two parties on a scale, if you put them on the scale of math, any of you know about the scale of math or the principles of math? They say in the principles of math, I think your heart is weighed. And if for you to quote unquote go to heaven, your heart has to be lighter than a feather, right? But the whole reality is, when you look at them toe to toe, and I think it has always been to some extent the fact, the PNC has always had more open battles for leadership and other positions in the party. The PPP has had its battles, but those battles were usually kept under wraps. You've had some public ones with Charles Ramson being told, sit down, you live by yourself, you live force for yourself, and so on and so forth. Shut up. We don't do it this way here. But nevertheless, if you look at the process, I think it has been a good process. It has certainly done well for the PNC. Certainly done well for the PNC. And so, how do you move forward? That's the question. Now you have a new leader. Now you have a new central executive. What's the next step? You have the most popularly elected leader. And so galvanizing the base should be easy, I would assume. If you win 9 out of 10 regions, then work should be easy in 9 out of 10 regions. Not that there is anything like easy work, right? But it might be easier than it is in that one region, I think Region 7. Region 7 has a way of throwing up surprises. Check the national elections. So what's the way forward? First, let me ask you folks, who have always been shouting Norton, 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 Norton. Now that you got Norton, what's next? What is expected of Norton? And so when I open up the lines this morning, perhaps you can tell me some of the things you expect of Norton. I'm hoping that he can find some time, because I want to do a town hall with him. You know, we did, I think, 1 or 2 town halls with him prior to this process and him becoming victorious and so on. And so I believe if you were talking to the people in town hall while you were vying for leadership, then you should very well come and talk to them in town hall now that you're a leader. And y'all don't tell me too early, you must give Mr. Norton no breathing space. That's my first bit of advice to you. Give Mr. Norton no breathing space. Hold his feet to the fire from the word go. Don't tell me fresh, don't tell me young. He's in politics since he was 16, and I understand now he might be heading for 76. So he's in politics about 60 years. Right? That was a joke, but he has been in politics quite a while, so hold his feet to the fire immediately. Right? Don't give him breathing space. And so I hope he might be listening and he might be getting a hint that I would like to get him into a town hall meeting with you guys, and so that you can ask him those direct questions again. Right? Usually, like I tell you, I don't do town halls free. So y'all best start putting aside your $20. It's Christmas, so I ain't taking $10 and $5 this time. Oh Lord, Santa got come good, you know. Anyways, I'm here to bring you the content and the information and stuff. How do you move forward? What should be the first thing to be done? The battle for leadership was bruising. I can say that. A lot of egos got bruised because the battle was so openly public. A lot of egos got bruised. Van West Charles, Dr. Van West Charles, what you call him, the man of silk, Royzil Ford, senior counsel Royzil Ford. Right? Who else contested? Well, Basil Williams pulled out prematurely also. Right? Joe Armon. All of those were contestants to the leadership. But don't believe that it is only the contestants to the leadership who might have had bruising battles. You had members, people contesting for the CEC. And so a lot of lines were drawn in the sand. A lot of shades were thrown. A lot of people were upset. It means that there must be some amount of rift to be mended in the party. And so I think that process has to start now. That process has to start now. People have to start mending fences and bring back cohesion in the party so that it can function as a well-oiled unit if it is going to be able to change anything in this dear land of ours. So keep that one in mind also. One of the other things I recognize out of this election and the process is that a lot of young people have been elected to the CEC. Right? Sis Liogo, say, you know, you hear you want $20 from the people 7%. $20 from the people 7% is basically what? That's the monthly increase on the salary, you know? Because some of them get 4.9. Yeah, so it's less than all. It's just so. Oh yeah, it's less than 1/12, right? Maybe I'm just asking for a tenth. Anyhow, a lot of young people were elected to the CEC, and that should be interesting. That should be interesting. They say old men will dream dreams and young men will have vision. Let me see those young visionaries at work. Right? Let me see those young visionaries at work. Let me see if they're going to sit back and accept the insults coming from Jack Dio and so on. Whoever you are, I'm on my live program. How may I help you? Hello? Pardon? Oh, all right, good. Good. Yes. Let me see. You know that says steel cut steel? Steel cut steel. Let me see if the young people will be as aggressive to Jack Dio as Jack Dio was aggressive to his elders. Right? We need some young upstarts in the CEC. I think they are there now. And the leader himself is supposed to be a man of energy also. Strong and things. So let's see how that will go. I'll take a musical break. Someone is needing some attention, so forgive me. Listen to some drums and I'll be back with you shortly. This is Konganaya outside of Demico, the western pavement of Demico, and they are of course performing some cultural tunes Saturday morning. some of the positives. A young CC, a relatively young leader, it should augur well for moving forward. Should augur well for moving forward. So let's see how that goes. Those are the positives. I won't say that there are too many negatives. You had a Congress where the outgoing leader was not present. As a matter of fact, his message was delivered virtually by recording. It's understood that he went to Cuba to seek medical attention. My first reflection when I heard that is, man doesn't want to face his demons. And so he went off to Cuba. But then also I said, you know, if the Congress were to be held on the original day, the 11th, it's likely that he was going to be here, if I'm understanding the timelines right. And so you can't really conclude that he was running from facing his demons. Because if it were to be held on the 11th, then he would have been here, I think. And so he would have been facing his demons. So that wasn't a fair assessment in hindsight. And so the GS also, the current GS also, delivered our message by recording. A board says that she's unwell also. So it might be a good thing to have the guards changed at this moment, because if you have a leader that is unwell, and a GS who basically might be the person who functions in the absence of the leader is also unwell, then you got a sick party. And maybe part of the lethargy which we saw might have been as a result of this unhealthiness at the top there. Whatever you want to call that unhealthiness. Good. Let's thank well, that's something that has to be addressed to the current leader of the opposition, Joe Harmon. Didn't perform very well in the leadership race, but I think he was magnanimous in conceding, having realized that, hey, this is an unassailable lead, this is whatever, I can't win this anymore. And he graciously conceded and congratulated Norton. That is how it should be. But many, for what I might consider lack of understanding of the process, are of the opinion that Norton, being the leader of the PNCR, automatically becomes the leader of the opposition. No, please understand that. Joe Harmon remains leader of the opposition. Right? Joe Harmon remains leader of the opposition. And Norton currently cannot be leader of the opposition because he's not a parliamentarian. That's the first step to being leader of the opposition. You have to be a parliamentarian. How do you be? Hey, oh lad, I'm going into treacherous waters here. How do you become a parliamentarian? Your name has to be extracted from the list by the leader of the list. Who is the leader of the list? David Granger, right? And so if David Granger is determined that Aubrey Norton cannot be a parliamentarian, right? If Granger is determined not to make Aubrey Norton a parliamentarian, then he will remain out of parliament. He has no control over that. That's number one. Number oh Lord, this thing, now we're in treacherous waters, right? So it is Granger who has to make Norton a parliamentarian. And even if he's made a parliamentarian, he doesn't automatically become leader of the opposition. It is the parliamentarians now who will have to support him for leader of the opposition. And in order for him to get the leader of the opposition position, it means that Joe Harmon has to be removed from the position of leader of the opposition. How do you get Joe Harmon removed? Certainly Joe Harmon could resign and move on. He can resign from the leader of the opposition position. He can also resign as a member of parliament. And so leave that space open for occupation by Norton. That's an option. Another option I would want to believe is that he can resign as leader of the opposition. So he leaves that position open. But someone of the parliamentarians from the APNU AFC coalition seats will have to resign to make way, or will have to be removed from parliament, whether by resignation or withdrawal, to make way for Aubrey Norton to get a seat in parliament, assuming Granger would appoint him. Right? And so if he gets appointed and Harman resigns from leader of the opposition, then they will have to have another leader of the opposition, and so they will go to the vote again, and the possibility is Norton will be elected. Those are just some of the quote-unquote jugglings which may have to take place for Norton to become leader of the opposition. But as it is right now, you have a situation where you have a leader of the PNC who is not leader of the opposition. Right? And so it is important, remember I talked about mending fences earlier. It is important for Joe Harman to work with Aubrey Norton, or Aubrey Norton to work with Joe Harman, whatever, right? It is important for the two gentlemen to work together. Because obviously, as leader of the PNC, Norton will be charting a certain course. Norton will be charting a certain course. And that course, therefore, it will be important and necessary for, what's his name? Harman, as leader of the opposition, to understand that course and work with Norton on charting that course. So it's important that they work together. Very, very important that they work together. And so there's no really room for this rift if there was ever a rift. Fences have to be mended and mended quickly. Somebody is saying Harman should resign. In other democracies, that would have been a done deal. Ghana is a different place. Ghana is a very different place because of its the oppression and the depression and the near tyranny which obtains in this country. Being leader of the opposition has benefits to it. Let us not run from that. Right? Good? It has benefits as leader of the opposition. Financial and other benefits. I usually say the other benefits are more important than financial for some people. The clout. And so a lot of people don't give up those positions easily because they want to hold on to the clout. But let's watch and see what will happen. All I know is that whatever is going to happen has to happen quickly. Because there are lots of challenges out there. Confronting the Guyanese people, confronting the PNC base, confronting the coalitions base. And those things will have to be dealt with and dealt with speedily. Now let me move on from the PNC business and talk about black people and Guyanese business. If you're from BV and you're listening, I know you might be cussing me in your mind, but cuss as you want. I was supposed to go to BV yesterday afternoon. I did make a public announcement here that I was going to go to BV yesterday afternoon. I didn't go. I got a call in the afternoon saying that there were a few persons at the meeting place expecting me. And I apologized to the person who called me and said, well, it's too late. I already decided I'm not coming. Why didn't I go? You might have intentions to go to somebody's house. But But then you realize they either didn't invite you, or while they invited you, it must have been just out of courtesy, and they really don't want you there. Y'all get the picture? I might have announced that I'm going to go to BV because I thought I was invited to go to BV because of the many complaints I was getting on my program on and off here about what's happening to BV and the need for an intervention. So I thought, well, hey, they want me to go to BV and share a little of what I'm thinking. Two persons, one more than the other. One has been more persistent than the other in terms of reporting what's happening to BV to me, I think. Indicated that they were going to do the mobilization of the people for us to talk with when we get to BV. As usual, when I decided to check in, I checked in and I was told, sorry, Mr. Amsterdam, I couldn't. I didn't do any mobilization. And so in short, I was told it doesn't make sense going because no mobilization was done. Fine by me. So I got a call later from the other person saying, I have a number of persons here. I say, you know, but I was told that no mobilization was done. So there's no point of me coming. But I have a number of persons. Say, you know, well, it's too late, I can't come because I was told no mobilization was done. And then it is when it was said to me that, you know, you were told by that person no mobilization was done because they said they don't want outsiders in the BV issue. Y'all know I like talk, so I can talk it in here. They said they don't want outsiders in the BV issue. I believe right therein lies our problems as a people. They see it as a BV issue. And so, like y'all like to say, don't wash your dirty linen outside. Don't let us wash our dirty linen outside. Don't let BUXTONIAN or BUXTONIANs come to intervene, set and reason and gaffe and find out what's happening in BV and try to help this solution, despite the fact, help find a solution despite the fact that it might have the best interest of BV at heart. And most importantly, the best interest of black people at heart. We don't want outsiders. We will deal with it ourselves. But these very people have been dealing with the BV issue for more than a year. Since the last local government, in fact, since the last local government elections, they've been dealing with the BV issue and they are not getting it right. But they don't want outsiders. In the meantime, more than 100 acres of land that could have been used beneficially for the growth and development of BV and its residents is about to change hands and find itself into private ownership in terms of the John Finance family. But BV wants to deal with this issue on their own. At least some people from BV say, let's deal with it on our own. I saw a statement on Facebook from the chairman of the BVNDC. Let me share it with you, because I'm going to address that too. I don't go looking for these things. Let us just find yourself in my inbox, because maybe people think I need to know. Yes, I need to know. If I'm talking about country's interests and communities' interests and people's interests and so on, yes, I need to know what's happening. And so this is a 4-minute, 5-second electronic statement. Listen up, and we'll continue this conversation after you have listened.
Season's greetings to one and all. I trust that this video finds us all in good health and strength during this Christmas season. Now, over the last few days, the Bedford Triumph NEC has came under criticism over a premature publication of a document purporting to create public mischief and panic amongst the people who have transported lands in the Betfort-Acton background. The locality also notes a number of posts by concerned residents on the social media app which insinuates that the Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC are selling private transported lands to John Finance Limited. Now, we live in a time where politicians have done so much to diminish public trust that we as a people have developed a tendency to judge one's action without seeking any further questions to assess the situation at hand. I speak for and on behalf of the local authority to categorically refute these claims by a few social media advocates whose intention is to spread fear, panic, and hatred amongst our people. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC wishes to notify all residents living in the Betfort-Acton Triumph area who may have vested interest for the lands located in Section G Triumph that from the onset of our public consultation with villagers of the community that I have made it elucidated that the BV Triumph NDC will not and cannot sell lands registered to private individuals. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC further wishes to state that it has always acted within the confines of the law that governs us and in the best interest of its constituents. I further wish to reiterate that all decisions made at the Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC are made through a democratic process, and the chairman for the authority can only act based on the decisions made by the local authority. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC wishes to further state that the purported leaked documents purporting to show that the NDC is selling or sold lands that belongs to private individuals is far from the truth and was taken out of context with the intention to create public mischief. On this day, the 18th of December 2021, I, Jamal Bagat, your chairman, would like to make this elusively clear. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC has never or will never, and I repeat, the Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC has never or will never sell lands that belongs to private citizens, since this is an illegal act. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC has always abided and will always be guided by our constituents. The Betfort-Acton Triumph NDC chairman and councillors have and will always be open to public guidance and constructive criticisms. That all minutes, relevant documentation in relation to this whole ordeal, or questions that persons who may have felt betrayed or would have been misled by a few nefarious individuals with ulterior motives can and will be answered at any time through the chairman's office on 220-2306 from 8 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon, Mondays to Fridays. Thank you.
There you have it, a statement from the current chairman of the BV Triumph NDC. A number of things I noted from that statement. I'll start with perhaps what is considered the least important. Nefarious individuals trying to create mischief. I don't know if concerned residents can be deemed nefarious if they raise what they consider in their minds credible concerns. And so I heard some name calling in that release, which I think, quite frankly, wasn't necessary. Nefarious individuals, social media activists, a few social media activists bent on creating mischief and stuff like that. The issue of BV Triumph, NDC, what is happening there, what is happening in the neighborhood, how lands are being managed, and stuff like that. I think those are genuine issues which any resident has a right to raise, which any commentator has a right to analyze and comment on without being labeled troublemakers, quite frankly. People have a right to know what's happening in their neighborhoods, what is happening at the level of the neighborhood democratic councils, and what is happening under the watch of their chairman and councillors. And to deem that kind of quote-unquote vigilance as mischief-making, I think is misplaced, to say the least. Misplaced. Legal versus ethical. The chairman was clear that whatever they do at the BV Triumph NDC is legal because they follow the law. The question is whether or not what they are doing is ethical. You see a lot of people even, and let me take it to the national realm, the PPP in its current march of misbehavior follows the law. They do a lot of, everything they do legal. They went to Parliament, for example, just last week for a supplementary budget of hundreds of billions of dollars. The law allows them to get a supplementary budget. But is it ethical to go and get a supplementary budget a mere 10, 12 days before the year is out? Is it ethical to take $2+ billion to dump into the black hole called Gaisuko? It's all legal, but is it ethical? Is it ethical to be giving grants to your supporting communities under the table while other communities are neglected? All that the government does is cloaked in legality. But where is the ethics? There's no ethics. And so the same questions can be asked of the BV Tribe NDC. All of what you guys are doing, you may be doing within the law. But is it ethical? The things you are doing, is it ethical? It is legal to sell a plot of land identified for a community market to a private individual. It is legal. The law gives you that authority. But is it ethical? When you look at the disadvantage that it has placed thousands of residents of that neighborhood, is it ethical? That's a question to ask. And so when the chairman talks about legality versus ethics, maybe that's exactly my response, you know? It's hollow. Extremely hollow. And now for the big one. The BV Triumph NDC has not sold nor committed itself to selling private lands or lands owned by or operated under private proprietorship, whether by lease or title, etc. That's a big one. The council has always said to residents, we can't sell and we will not sell private lands. In short, we can and we will sell public lands under our control. And so the argument is, the lands that we are currently gearing up to sell to John Finance, if the lands are public lands under our control, then there is still a question of ethics. How ethical it is to take in excess of 100 acres, in excess of 100 acres of land, and sell it to an individual company when you have perhaps hundreds of residents who have applied for and up until now have not been able to acquire a plot of land on which to build their homes. And so you have 3 and 4 generations living in original one family and 2 family houses in your neighborhood. How ethical is that? How considerate is that? When those very lands which you have authority to dispose of could be repurposed and converted into house lots and distributed to the very residents among you who are looking for house lots, so that they can come out of their cramped living conditions because 4 generations are living in one house. How about that? How about considering that despite these lands are considered public because they are not under private proprietorship, that they are lands which were there because of the sacrifices of the forefathers, foremothers, the ancestors. And so their offspring are the ones who are really entitled to beneficial use of those lands. How about considering that? And so you see a lot of us who are leaders, who are in positions of legality and authority, lose our way simply because we don't understand our responsibility. That's how I see it. As a community leader, your responsibility is not about yourself and about what is legal. Yes, you have to always consider the law, but you also have to look beyond the law to see how your actions will have an impact on the people who have entrusted you with that position of authority and legality. And I think that is what is lacking in many of our communities. I think that is what is lacking among many of our leaders. They ain't got a connection with their people. They see these positions as just places where they can get clout, where they can be protected and emboldened and lifted up. Right? These are some of the considerations I want to share this morning on that same land issue. And while I may be addressing it in terms of BV Triumph, these are some considerations you have to take nationally. From a political and economic point of view, you have a government which is bent on displacing residents of Region 4. Displacing them, moving them out of Region 4, and sending them to far-off regions. Regions that they, number one, don't know about, have never lived there, and number two, do not have a support system in. All in the interest of gerrymandering votes and so on to win the region, to win election and all of that. That's what the politicians are about, the government is about. So you have that situation in this region. BV is a community, BV Triumph is a neighborhood in this region. And so their residents will be faced with the same possibilities of being gerrymandered out of Region 4. Because they have applied through housing for lands to construct their homes and so on. And so if they're going to get those lands, they're going to get them out of Region 4, which will remove them from Region 4 and weaken the political structure for the beneficiary party, in this instance the PNC, in the region. They will weaken the political structure, weaken the electoral role in this region, and give the PNC, the PPP, the possibility of winning the region, controlling a bigger percentage, a bigger portion of NDCs, a bigger portion of parliamentary seats, and therefore get carte blanche to run all over citizens of this country and those they like. Right? Because they're already doing as they like. with 1 seat majority or 2, whatever it is. But when you give them a bigger majority, then they feel much, much more emboldened to do as they like, and much, much more than they're doing now. And you have a situation where you have hundreds of acres of land, which can at least prevent your residents being gerrymandered out of the region. But instead of repurposing that land so that your residents can construct their homes in a community, in a region that they know, and they have ties and support systems, you're saying the law permits you to sell those pieces of land to private capitalists because it is legal. You can do it without even considering, number 1, the ethics, and number 2, the social impact. Right? Let us talk about the social impact, or at least one of them. When you live in a community where there are support systems because you were born and bred in that community, you got cousins in the same community or neighborhood, you got in-laws in that neighborhood, you have parents and grandparents in that neighborhood, you have brothers and sisters in that neighborhood, uncles and aunts in that neighborhood, you have the extended family in that neighborhood or in that region. In this instance, you will have them in the neighborhood, BV Triumph. If there's an issue, you can always reach out to somebody for support because you are all in the same geographic space. But when that land is given out to a private individual and residents have to go to get house lots allocated in Region 3 and Region 2 and so on, that link is kind of broken. It is more distant. It is more difficult to capitalize on. And so it becomes more troublesome. What is the impact of that? You are in the same community, in the same neighborhood. You, for example, have young children. You have to go to work. Instead of them being left unprotected, you have a neighbor, friend, a cousin, or aunt, or uncle, grandparents, some member of the extended family to look them over. Whether they stay at home and people continue to pay attention to what is happening there, or they just step across the road and they go to a relative's home for safekeeping and so on, they have a system in place that protects them. When you transfer them out of the region, they gone to Region 3, let's say, there's no support system there. What is the challenge to that working family, mother and father? Children are left unprotected, or they have to juggle them. Face transportation expenses to get them from that region back to this region, to be taken care of and then transported back to that region. It is much, much more cumbersome and troublesome. And so resources which could have been used for empowering the family otherwise are now resources being used to shuttle children and family members up and down to benefit, if you can call it that, from the extended family. What if there were to be allocated pieces of the very lands which are now about to be sold to private individuals? Then they have a close relationship, close proximity, and so those expenses will be cut out. Nobody thinks about that, I guess. It's legal to sell the land. To hell was the residents, what they do is another matter. And so I come to the question, why is it, or why does it appear that young Indian families make bigger strides at a shorter time span than young African Guyanese families? Why? Because from my observation, young Indo-Guyanese families don't leave home They start their families at home and they grow at home. The daughter-in-law, for example, usually gets taken home to the home of the son with his parents. And so you have that extended family there. One pot is cooked in that house. Everybody eats from it. A child is born, the extended family takes care of the child. Remove the need for daycare and other child care services fees. And so they get to keep more of their income for investment or whatever. In the case of Africa and these families, we move on, we move out. We go and we pay rent. Because we want privacy. We pay daycare. Because we don't want to be children among our relatives. Or we ain't getting along. And so more of our resources gets used up paying for these services, which we could have used, which the extended family could have provided for us at half a cost or no cost at all. And so when you look around, it looks as though young Indian families are making bigger strides at a shorter rate of time compared to young black families. But these are little things which we don't pay attention to. And these are little things which we are not paying attention to in the instance of the BV Triumph NDC selling hundreds or more than 100 acres of land to John Finance. Because when that land is sold to them, it means the residents now don't have access to that land for housing. And so they have to look for housing lands away from where they have the support systems. But we don't recognize that. We just know it's legal. So we think in a vacuum, we think in a tunnel. We got tunnel vision, we can only see straight ahead. But we don't see all the other issues connected to what we're doing. And that is the black man's plight. A lot of us don't like to face it, but that is our plight. We are individualistic in our thinking. We see it in government, we see it in families, we see it in communities. I'm not the first to identify it. Let me say that. I'm not the keeper of all wisdom. I'm sure I'm not the first to identify it. I've heard it before. But our efforts being made to rectify the situation. I like teach y'all using my family business. I like tell y'all my business. So you're going to know that I ain't living in no utopia. The very things I encourage people to do here, I do myself. I have a 25-year-old son. I don't know if he's a woman. I don't know. He never bring anybody to me and say, well, daddy, this is my girlfriend. Right? But I know that provision is made for him. Provision is made for him. He was brought up by the extended family. My sister looked him. My mother looked him. His mother's mother looked him. So he was brought up by the extended family from both sides, and he's well loved by all of them. He has that support system. His sister is 14, 15 now. She's losing count. She's getting big. And she has had that support system also. If you've never really had to pay for daycare and child services fees, now he is of that age. He has a room by which he can live. Until such time that I believe he has fortified himself because I provide guidance. I'm not going to tell him by your age, move out. What I will guide them to do is how to acquire wealth. So when the time comes to you to move, you could stand on your own bottom. Some of us, because our children get to that age, we push them out. Go on, you're adult. What are you pushing them out to? Failure? Do they have that foundation? A lot of our young people, and I like to say, like I tell y'all, I use my own experiences to teach. The fad for a lot of young people is get a motorcycle. As soon as they start working, get money, buy a motorcycle, buy a car. One of the first things I said to my son is, hey, don't buy no car. You can't live in a car. Don't buy a car. You see the car I got it? Anytime you want it, ask me. You want to go, you ask me. And as much as I can leave what I have to do and give it to you, you can get it. Don't go buy no car. You got money to buy a car, save the car money. Save towards building a home. If you could build a home at 25, 30, even by mortgage, you ain't doing bad at all. Because if you take a mortgage at 30, you got at least 25 years to pay for it. With health and strength, you ain't doing bad at all. It's as if you're paying some people's rent. There are a lot of people who pay rent and don't even understand that, hey, this rent money could have been my mortgage payment at the end of a period of time I would own something. As against paying this rent all the time, I'm owning nothing. When the landlord says go, it's go. We don't reason like that. In many instances, because our families, our relatives, our role models don't show us like that. But when you do that, you're preparing the next generation for success. You're of age, but you can continue living at me. Take the money that you would have paid for rent otherwise and put it towards building your home. And if I have enough accommodation at my home and you want to continue living here and you want to rent your home that you built to help pay the mortgage, go right ahead until such time that you feel, well, all right, I could get along with you now. Or I feel like, all right, my space get a little tight. Do your business. Do your thing. That is how we can build our families and build our communities. But when we look at this strict legality thing, without the ethics and the other social considerations, we are defeating ourselves. We are defeating ourselves. Anytime I get the opportunity, anybody visits me and I get the opportunity to drive across Annandale, I like to take them through a particular street because of what I see happening in that street. Every single house in that street, from August last year to now, or from August this year to now, every single house, construction is taking place at. What is the construction? All of the bottom houses are now being enclosed. You ask yourself why? Oh, suddenly all them colored people this island, they're putting their bottom house. They're putting them in for rental. Renting is big money business. Real estate is big money business. I kept saying it for more than a year. With Ghana becoming a producing state, people will need accommodation. Guyanese used to leave here and go to Trinidad and live in some 10 by 10 and some 6 by 6, and according to my understanding, pay a whole lot of US money for rent. Just a place to rest their head. And that is when Trinidad was booming with oil. If Ghana has an oil boom now, it's obvious. Trinidadians will come to Guyana. They will be looking for some place to stay. And just as how you were paying a whole lot of money for a 6x6 in their island, they will have to be willing to pay a whole lot of money for 6x6 in your country because they're looking for some place to stay. Somebody is advising the people over there in there. Somebody is advising the people down in there, and they're listening and provide possibilities. They're being provided resources. And so you see that movement, at least in that particular street. Sometimes I wonder if it's one man on the own street. And then from Annandale, you know, right? I wonder if one person owns that entire street. But look over in Buxton. Nobody is putting up the, nobody is fixing the bottom house. They ain't even fixing the top of the house where they live. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. You know, this generalization, right? I don't see a whole lot of people doing things to capitalize on the opportunities which will arise out of this oil economy in real estate to start with. I'm encouraging you. Let us start looking at it. Let us do it. The chairman and councillors at BV and EC need to have a fresh look at the way they do things. I have my opinions. I have my information. But unlike what a lot of people tell themselves, when I come here and I address certain issues, I don't intend on pulling down people. I don't intend on pulling down people. I can say I've met young Bagat before. We have to associate with each other on other issues. I think he's young and ambitious. He might be misguided. He might not have all the knowledge. There might be people who he looks up to who gives him wrong guidance. All of those things are things to be factored into people's behavior. Check on the council. You will find similar situations. If an adult, an older, an elder, who has been in the struggle, or assumably has been in the struggle for decades, can be as myopic as saying, I don't want outsiders in this BV issue that they have not been able to sort out for over a year. Then we can't blame the youngsters for stumbling along the way and in some instances making bad decisions. But we have to be bold enough and strong enough to call a spade and to work at fixing what is wrong. And that is why I am here every morning talking about issues. Think I just criticize the PPP because they're majority Indian? If let's say a majority Indian party was fair to Guyanese and was moving this country in a direction that it ought to go, where everybody would enjoy the fruits of their labor, I think K3 hang. Just as how I was part of being critical of the PNC when they were in government and doing foolishness, despite it's a majority black party. I stand for what is right. I like to sometimes script that I'm the last patriot. So don't feel I'm here to pull long people and knock them and this and that. If it ain't right, I will talk about it. And people generally don't give you praises publicly. They criticize you publicly, so get accustomed to that one. It is now 12 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Call, let's talk about the thing. I'd like to hear from the people at BV. How you all feel about this whole situation? 100 plus acres are being sold. Whether private or public lands, by your NDC, to a private company, a private individual, quite frankly. How you all feel about that? When many of you have applications in the system for housing and you can't get. Some of you have been awarded in Region 2 and 3 and you refuse because you don't want to break your family ties. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your new leader, Aubrey Norton. The results are in 9 out of 10 regions. It shows that Mr. Norton has been favored, tremendously favored. He's the pick of the people. What do you want from him now in exchange for that kind of support? You say all politics is local. You must expect something from the leader that you chose. Is it more vigilance? Is it a stronger line against the PPP? Are you expecting street protests? Slow fire, more fire like back in 97 or then? What are you expecting? What do you want from Mr. Norton? Those are some of the things we can talk about. 622-5933 is the number to call. It is the 20th day of December. A mere 5 years to Christmas. I ain't see no packages at my door yet, and y'all say I'm so favored. Call in live, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. The little lad, when I came here, we were talking about your empowering of your children. Kadaki, what you saying is true. But you, some parents, because I am faced with that. You see my house. And I built my house so that my children could be around. And my relatives and friends made certain that the children must move off and go to places. Some of them doing well. The last one, she decided to move on the advice of friends. Now I learned she has applied to trying to get a place to rent. And to rent one room will cost her $70,000 a month. When she tried to think the people charge her $50,000. So you, my God, good for you children. But people out there turn their mind against you, and no matter what you say, they will not listen to you. So, the thing about lands, people got to know about the lands and don't sell out. So now to their party sell out, you just want. To Mr. Norton, congratulations. And I hope the things that he said prior to prior to him becoming the leader of the party, he could stick to it. Because when you see you do things to get into power, and if you can't meet up the whole 100, if we get 75%, that is good. And I would like to see the forward that he's going to be taking. And I hope he sticks out for a verdict in the election petition. That is the first thing he should do. Along with the election petition, he should see what could be done to GCOM and to those people who are kicked off the jobs. In the whole, he must try to turn the thing around and let us see that we are going somewhere. Not spineless, but with spine. That is my comment.
Thank you, Rondo. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to say it's none of my business. By starting, have you tried reaching out to your daughter and sit and talk with her, or get some elder family member to sit and talk with her, and say, you know, let bygones be bygones. There's always a room at my home for you. You ain't gonna go and pay $50,000 to live at somebody else.
I got somebody, a mediator, and that is what she told the mediator right now. Kedaki, we're gonna talk the thing.
All right.
Where we could talk. All right. We are gonna call you up today and
right. Good. Because sometimes, you know, sometimes we institute hurt on each other. Families hurt their members. Parents hurt their children. And some of us can find it in our hearts to forgive and move on and so on. And some of us would rather die with that hate. Some of us are willing to address it, but we are fearful of what the response of the other person will be. And so it's always nice to get a mediator, like Rhonda said. Get a go in between, man. And let a person bring and carry, test the waters. Right? Until you get to the point where you can sit in the same room and discuss the way forward. Why would I watch my child go and pay $50,000 or $70,000 in rent at somebody else's house for a room where they might have to be following that person's rule? That $50,000 or $70,000 can improve a room in my home where you're a legitimate stakeholder. But we don't see these things, or sometimes we pretend not to see these things. The ego takes the better of many of us sometimes. Call it live, good morning.
Morning, Kadaki.
Morning to you.
And morning, Guyana. Why is it that we're not hearing no one from BV have actually called in with comments in reference to that sale of lands to that what is it? Yes, it's a Portuguese company or individuals. We would like to hear from the people from BV to call in and express what their thoughts are in reference to our African Guyanese family situation and how the children have just moved out. We have adopted the European principle of just, individualism as opposed to being collectively and letting, our people, our children stay in the house until they're ready, prepare them financially. And I've had that situation with a couple of nephews where I explained to them is that you stay and you accumulate your money and think of it, like you had said, that if you go there, you're going to be having to pay rent. So even if you have saved 70% of what you would have paid in rent, you've, accomplished a lot. So by the time you're ready to move, you wouldn't have to borrow or get loans in trying to move up. So it's a universal problem because we have adopted European principles. When it comes to selling of lands, we seem not to understand the importance of real estate, and we've got to pound that into our children's head. I mean, they're influenced by a lot of what they see out there. Being, for us as African Guyanese, we've got to do a better job of what we're doing with the youngsters. For the new chair of the PNCR, wish him well, and he should definitely lay down his stance on all the contention, election, all the excess of the PPP, and then we should go from there. And, we've got to see what happens first before we be critical of maybe what he's not doing. So let us see what happens within the coming at the end of the year. And again, my thing is, do not meet with the PPP, just like they did not meet for the whole year. You hold off. And I think a strong stance should send messages to there's a new sheriff in town, or there's a new way that things are going to be done. And that's my take.
Lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. Let me see if there are any voice notes. We are at the beginning of the Christmas week, Voice note. What y'all doing for Christmas, folks?
Good morning to you, Kadaki, and your viewers. I listened carefully about the situation in BV. And I know that persons are in dire need of house lots. And I want to know if the chairman took a survey to see how many persons in their community are in need of homes, of house lots, before they have made this drastic move. Persons moving to other parts of the country is very, very expensive. To have or to live in your own community would be better.
Thank you for that voice note. And the lines remain home. 6225933 is the number to call. Let's talk the thing. We're talking about new leadership, land issues in BV, ethics versus law, and stuff like that. Private versus public lands, and let's talk. And while we're at it, y'all could share some secrets. What y'all doing for Christmas? I want mind all your business. Oh yeah. Calling live, good morning.
Good morning, Karaki. Wonderful show this morning. I must say congratulations to Mr. Norton. And I would like to say what Rhonda just said. She's absolutely true. Because I could remember from my own story and friends that I have, and I'm not talking about people from the Caribbean and people from Guyana, especially Guyanese. They come to this country. They encourage friends. Oh no, move out from shows, move out. If your mother talks to you too hard, oh no, move out, let's go and get an apartment together. When you go and you move and you get an apartment together with them, they want to buy food. You buying all the food and they eating. When they're done, they can't tell their friends, oh, she don't want to buy this, she don't want this, she can't even pay your rent. Stay at home, help your parents, add another room if you can, and it will be better. I never ever listened to not one of my friends. And my friends was not up in my age group. They were all the older people, and I always listened to them when they spoke to me. And I didn't have to go outside to get nobody to talk to me, because my mother was a tall, strapping, brown-skinned woman, and me didn't want she to sit on me, because if she would sit on me, my bowstring body would have gone under. But my mother always spoke to us and tell us, like on weekend, she would sit down, we gather around her, and she sit and she talked, she read the Bible to us, and she spoke to us and tell us about things. And I came to this country and see how hard my mother worked to maintain us right in the holiday. She put us in a place because she said she didn't want to put us in a pink house. Because pink houses in this country was like guns and drugs and all this kind of thing. And sit back and think all my mother thought to put us in a home, because first when we come, we was living in a home because my aunt had a home. She had a house. Then she moved to Queens, and my aunt and my mother still remain in the house until my mother bought her own. So people have to understand, friends, it's good to have friends, but listen to them carefully. Jealousy is a bad thing, so people need to listen. You see, me and my sister, we tight. My mother make two, one end, and we're gonna be tight until the day comes for us. Brothers and sisters might have tongue biting, but you have to stick to your family. They will look out for you, don't matter what them say, oh, they got time with them. But you trust and be your own. I know some brothers and sisters don't put them head together, but I could tell you that I linked my brother. I was just home. And he was arguing with my sister. My sister sent a barrel for him, and he was upset. And when I come, I take out the barrel and I said, look, you know what is worse to me? All this to me, sister? I said, yes. All that for you. My mother sit down and spoke to us, every one of our children. If they want to differ, that's their problem. But I know for sure, me and my sister keep that going. My mother couldn't help most of our family members, but she always sent money for them, pack a barrel, and do things. Once you do things for your family, help them out. But sometimes some of them get very jealous. They just want you to give to them only. You must be able to spread it around. And watch my grandmother. She did that to our family. whatever my mom and my aunt sent to her, she shared it around to all her family. Zaki, you are enlightening our people, and people need to listen. If they don't understand, reach out to you and ask for explanation. But I know a lot of parents does not sit and talk to their children. They turn out to go outside to other people. So, good show this morning for that. And God bless the PNCR people. They better work together and try to make that country come to something. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. And you notice I've been showing you an ad there, Kiram's Hideout. Yes, Kiram's Hideout, we're home for the holidays. Better arrangements to deal with the COVID and so on and so forth. So if you're looking for a getaway, a little hideout, come down. You can get some oldies, you can get entertainment, you can get some finger foods and so on a regular. Check out Kiram's Hideout, Sideline Dam. Good? Check us out for the pre-Christmas oldies online. You might get to sing some karaoke and so on. So keep in touch and check us out. We're home daily, into the night. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning to your viewers. On the issues of children leaving home, Kadaki, I share a different view. When you keep these children under your wing, I think you retard their development. You have to allow them to go there, because when that's you, invariably they don't want to spend any money in the house. Everything remains on you. They don't see any need. When they go there, they're gonna know they're gonna need a spoon, they're gonna need a plate, they're gonna need a cup, and bit by bit they start adding value to themselves. Trying to keep them under your wings breeds a lot of conflict between parents and children. Once the young people have matured and they believe they want to go off, let them go. Even if they get bored, it is all in the developmental process. This generation we have here, I don't know. I don't have the answers to it. But even when you have mediators, you don't get through to them. It's the microwave, they want money, they don't want to work for it. They want everything come to them on a platter. So I don't know what is the answer. I don't know how we getting around this. But something needs to be done to arrest this generation. Otherwise, I don't know what we face for the future. They don't want to work. All they want to be on the cell phone and doing what? I want to call it words, but really non-productive stuff. With all the exposure to technology, they're not improving their standing. We see a degeneration in the morals, in the values and everything of these young people, notwithstanding the exposure to the World Wide Web. And so I think this conversation you've started, a lot of parents are experiencing extreme difficulties with the children. When you want to get them to study, they don't want to study. They want to get money now. They're not prepared to make any sacrifice and put in any effort for the future. Anything requires so much effort, these young people are not going to get themselves involved in it. They choose the path of least resistance. Something went wrong where I can't put my fingers on it, but we went wrong someplace, sometime. This conversation is important, and I think we need to expand it and really dig deep, because we're losing our young people, and we cannot create and generate wealth at the rate at which these young people are doing. Families have their business. Send these children to be educated. Instead of come back to improve and build the family business, they want to go and look for work. We have a fit on. When consider what they're really getting, the job they have is being just above broke, JOB, just above broke. Instead of investing in what the family have and creating wealth, they want to go out for work for somebody's salary. That somebody must be responsible for it. We do not want to put in the effort to be responsible for our own development. And that is a severe problem we face, especially in the black community. Control the children, it's difficult for black parents to have any control over these children. When as soon as they're adolescent, it's trouble. Look at the situation with those at Prince George. Telling them to get an education when you didn't have look what they're behaving with. I mean, we really need to dig deep in it. On another note, I wish to congratulate the new leader of the People's National Congress. I believe the 24th Biennial Congress, which was just held, was the most authentic, democratically transformative reform the party has been through. I think it has produced I would say the second most authentic popular leader the party has seen since its existence. And so congratulations to Mr. Aubrey Norton, Central Executive of the party and the election team that brought up such a marvelous event. I mean, they ought to be congratulated. The party has been placed in the league of authentic democratic organizations, I believe. And so it has set the bar very high for organizations in this country, not only political, but other social organizations need to take a page out of the PNC. They've always been the leaders and trailblazers and trendsetters. And so I believe the party is on good footing. The interest it has generated, it is really amazing. I myself was set back to see the kind of interest generated. A lot of people said the PNC was dead and the PNC can't make it back. But man, that Congress, the process that Congress went through, what it has generated, I believe the party is set on a great footing. And it augurs well for the body politics of Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. You all stick up in, don't call. This look like it's going to be a long program, but I got to go and earn my living here. I want to address this caller. I want to address some of the things said. I see some people agree, some people disagree. We all will have our difference of opinion. Let me start with what went on at Christchurch. I didn't see the videos. I didn't make an effort to see the videos. It's just a waste of time. But what I will say to you is that these things been happening since time immemorial. Whatever those children were involved in at Christchurch, they aren't the first, they will not be the last. And there were many generations before them who did it. The only thing is, when the generations before them were doing it, there were no video phones, camera phones to record it, and no social media to publish it. And they were always irresponsible people. It's just that they didn't get the opportunity to share it around because it was not on hard evidence or tape. Good? Let me talk about that. Christchurch has always had a name for sexual experimentation, if I can call it that, among its students. I have elder family members who went to Christchurch, and they can tell you about their exploits, what they were involved in and not involved in. My son went to Christchurch. He never told me of any any of the dark secrets, but he went to Christchurch, right? Going to Christchurch didn't make him a bad person. As old people would say, he came out bat in hand. Good. But Christchurch is a school that presents that kind of opportunity, like all other schools, quite frankly. But Christchurch has some dark corridors, I can tell you that. The layout of the school makes it possible. You can always slip on a step. You can always go around the corridor, right? So the layout, if you want to solve the problem at Christchurch or minimize it, you might need to look at the layout and the lighting of the school. But these things have been happening all the time. But that's Christchurch. But have you seen videos of what goes on at Queen's College, Bishops, President's College, and the A-grade schools, as we like to call them, St. Rose's, for example? Have you? I'm a 70s child. I went to secondary school in the 80s. And during that time, the students at Queen's College used to be drinking rat blood and making blood covenants with each other. Those were the days of the AC/DC rock bands and so on. Right? Justin Halliers talks about Richard Ishmael. I went to Richard Ishmael, Justin. And so I know what I'm saying. I had classmates who used to escape, get away at lunchtime or break time, and jump on the back of the big bikes. Those times they weren't CBR, they were Kawasaki. 125 was the bike of the day, the dirt bike. So students were always involved in what we consider negative activities. But now we got social media, so it's more blown up. You give the children a chance. And when I say give the children a chance, right? It's not to say allow them to be bad and to do these things which can come back to haunt them. And this is one of the things you all got to understand. Putting those videos out there and sharing those videos out there with your negative comments and so on, and demeaning those children, it can have more psychological effect on them than the activities that they were involved in. And it can have more long-lasting consequences than those activities. Because when you put it out there, it is always out there on social media. And so you're having an impact on their future. Those children might reform in another day, 2 months perhaps. But that negativity is still out there to bother them. Right? So y'all keep those things in mind. And people are telling me about the 250s and the Rebel and the jump and spread out scooter and so on. Those are the fad of the day. So I ain't got time to beat up on any student on that. This is where parenting comes in. Many of us wait until too late. She is only 9, she's only 10. It's not time to talk about sex with her. It's not time to allow her to watch certain documentaries. Or him. No, we wait too late. Educate your children from young age about the challenges they will encounter in this life, and so they can deal with them when they encounter them. Don't try to fix the problem after the horse is bolted, they say, along the stable. Start young. And when I'm talking about starting young, I'm saying the same thing about having children live at you as adults. My good friend here said, when they live with you, they don't want to pay bills. They don't want to take responsibility. Some of us wait until too young to teach our children responsibility and responsible conduct. Maybe some of us are responsible as we are because I remember as a youngster, before I leave for school, before we left for school, the steps had to be scrubbed, water had to be fetched, the house had to be scrubbed, wares had to be washed, yard had to be cleaned. Those were responsibilities we as youngsters in the family had before we could leave for school. You had to get certain things done. And you dare not be late for school. And if you couldn't complete it before you leave, when you come back home, you had to do it, and sometimes with whips on your back. I don't forget how I used to have to scrub step, you know. Every in fact, 5 sides of the board got to be scrubbed. The 2 outer edges, no, let's say 4, the 2 outer edges, the facing edge and the top. You had to do it. Pig had to be fed. Stocks had to be taken care of. Right? And that taught us responsibility. At the weekend, we might get raised a freck and so on. I know we used to get our bush cook basket or bag with stuff and so on. So you teach children responsibility. And you teach them to build wealth as you go along. Eggs have to pick up. I say I like to teach by giving out my experiences. Just this year or last year, I went and I got my daughter 2 dozens black giant fowl. She had to rear them from chicks. They're laying eggs now. You have to teach your children value. My son, just last night I was sharing with my buddy friend. We were talking about bills and internet and so on. I said, but you know, for the last year or two, I have not paid my phone bill or internet bill. My son gets a notification and he deals with that. Some people might say you're instituting the black tax on your son. No. I created value. And so he can deal with that responsibility. I'm always into private businesses. And so when my son was a toddler, I had a business shop. I had a shop. And when he came to the shop and he said, I want a car call today, and I give him it today. And he come back tomorrow, I put him to sit down. And have him understand, listen, I don't mind giving you a car call, but these were bought to run this business, to make a profit, to get money to do things. And if you come every day and you eat it out, we ain't gonna get nothing. And if he comes and he says he wants this pen, I ask, how urgent is it? What is the priority? Why do you have to get it now? Justify your case. And when your case is made, I decide if you will get it now or later. And so if I say to my children, listen, I don't think this is a priority. I will deal with your priority item. And this will have to wait until a later date. I will try to keep my undertaking to provide it at a later date. That's how I brought up my children. But parents nowadays, and I say nowadays loosely, will tell you, I don't want me children got you where I got you. I used to have to do all the hard work. Let us sit down and enjoy themselves. And then when they become adults, they still got this sit down and enjoy themselves attitude. And you bawl and you say they don't want to take responsibility. You waited until it was too late. I'm sure I told you this before and I'm repeating it. Sometimes I feel my son will be embarrassed because I share so much about him with the public. But just as I am proud of him, I would like other parents to be proud of their children. At 11 and 12, my son was running my business. I had an internet cafe in Buxton. Everybody knows it, I would hope, on Company Road. In the afternoon, when my son comes from school, he comes there and he operates the business with me. And there came a time when I'm teaching lessons in Georgetown. My son is operating my business in Buxton. Before age 15, for more than a year, the bank didn't see me. My son used to go and do all my deposits. One day I turned up at the teller and she recognized the name. She said, oh, it is your child who comes here to do deposits and so on. I said, yes. What, is he too young? She said, no. It's a good thing you do. I said, thank you, because he has to learn. Right? We got a family laugh. My son is a safe bet, as we would say. And that is some small. I think my daughter is a more liberal spender now. Because, you know, fathers and daughters and so on. But I don't think she's spoiled. I'm sharing these experiences with you because I think there is something you can learn from my experiences that will help you. Right? I don't believe it's the children's fault all the time. Some of us parents drop the ball. I am an educator. I have nieces and nephews. Great nieces and nephews. I teach people's children, as we would say, strangers' children. For free or next to nothing. I'm always willing to help. And you better believe, I have some immediate family members, nephews and great nephews and nieces and great nephews, who will not make use of that opportunity. Despite how I will preach with them and I will encourage them, they will not make use. And their parents will not insist on making use. So sometimes we blame the children. But we have to teach them, we have to culture them from young. Socialization is important. You can't wait until, imagine you socializing somebody to rock back in front of the television all day. From 0 to 18 years. And then 18 you expect they're going to just get up and do what is expected of an adult. No, we have the wrong approach. Right? Let me say, for example, look in the other communities. Them youngsters always got a cow for milk. A flock to chase down the road and go and bring back in. A garden to tend to. That's how you teach people to be responsible. That's how you teach people to be responsible. Don't worry that crap. And it is never too late. I say that. Some of us might start too late, but it's never too late. Likewise, a lot of children are anxious to run out of the parents' home because they believe that the parents are the worst things on the face of the earth. Some of us are tormenting to our children. We crotchety. Everything is nag, nag, nag. Right? And so our children want to run out. Man and man must reason. We must reason with our children. Don't fight with them. Reason. Let ideas contend. And we're never too old to admit, well, boy, I didn't see it the way or I didn't see it that way. I consult my son on some issues. I consult my daughter on some issues. You won't believe it. Everybody has a little wisdom. We ain't too old to learn. Call your live, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Loudly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. I think that children should be taught responsibility. And we do our children injustice when we say that our children should not go through what we went through. For the most part, we went through is fetching water or walking to school. Those are not bad things. I had a co-worker who was upset with her mother for many years because she got her 2 children when they were young and she had to go to work to take care of them. She asked her mom to babysit for them, even though the mother wasn't working. The mother took babysitting money from her every year. And she was upset with her mother. Fast forward, when those children reached 18, the money the mother was taking from the daughter to take care of the children, she banked it for the children. And it was able to go as college fund for them. What the mother told her was she was teaching her responsibility. Not because she was there and wasn't working, it was a free pass for her to drop off those children without paying. So in the long run, the money that she took from her daughter to watch those children became their college funds. And she taught her responsibility. And I think that's what we should be doing, especially in our Black community. Thank you.
Thank you for that experience. Because some people believe, and it happens in the Indian families, let me tell you that, because I know of situations like that. Right? I spent a few months at Nari as an accounts clerk. And there were 2 young Indian folks there, a male and a female, that I worked with, or worked among. I think it was the male was getting married. Right? And for all the years he was working, he had to take home, or he was taking home his paycheck, pay packet as we say, to his mother. And she was giving him a little for himself and taking the rest, say, to run the house and so on. And when he was ready, when he got married, she handed him a bank book. She said, hey, them cow you see that back there are for you. But ma'am, you can't give me all your cow them. Buy them me cow or you money buy them. And look this bank book. Because she was taking from him and safeguarding it for this time. So you got a start, a head start if you want to call it that. How many of us dare tell our children, bring your pay packet straight home, don't open it, and accept what I give you? Hell to play. Number one. Number two, there are a lot of us who will collect our children's money, and as old people say, lick blackboard. And so when it comes to that time for them to get a start, we ain't got nothing to give them. Right? There's a lot we can do to change the status quo. I see a voice note that I must play. It has been waiting here a while.
Good morning, Kadaki, and good morning to all your viewers. This regional security force or task force that the People's Progressive Party set up, to the best of my knowledge and what I've been hearing, it's unconstitutional in some regard. My question is, what is stopping the opposition, if it is indeed unconstitutional, what is stopping the opposition, so to speak, from forming their own security service or task force, as it's called by the PPP? What is stopping? Because if it is unconstitutional, it's not following the law. Can't the opposition do the same just to safeguard their members? Thank you.
This voice note has a number of trick questions inside. Some I dare not answer as candid as I would like to. First and foremost, I'm of the opinion, and there are lots of other people who are of the opinion, that the task force is indeed illegal. It did not follow the necessary procedures for establishment, and it did not follow the correct procedures to the withdrawal of funds to man this task force. So yes, there seems to be a consensus that there's some amount of illegality there, but nobody has challenged it. Nobody has moved to court on it. And that's one of the things I bemoan. We don't go to courts in this society. We don't have activist lawyers who will see something wrong and move to the courts on it. Call Anil what you like. Call Deadfowl what you like. While in opposition, he was busy challenging things that he considered unconstitutional. He was busy. We don't have the same kind of activism in this current opposition. I don't know why. Maybe they can explain it. So yes, I think that could have been challenged. Secondly, because the government has an illegal task force, should the opposition set up an illegal task force? That is what I'm hearing. Well, let me tell you this. The easy way is the illegal task force formed by the government has the coverage of the government. The government has its hands in the law enforcement agencies, and so even if that illegality were to put somebody in problem, the government will ensure they come out of problem. Like the Phantom Squad. Phantom Squad was illegal, but the government of the day protected its members. This task force is like onto another Phantom Squad, perhaps with a cloak of legality. And this government will protect its members. Simple as that. Who will protect the members of the opposition illegal squad? You? Who will? Are there other forms that they can use to establish something that will protect their members? Yes, I believe so. What they are, I don't know. It's 3 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. The lines remain open. I'll take one more call. Who will be that lucky person? And so while I'm talking, I'm waiting for that final call for this morning's program. Let me encourage you to go across the Cash App and support the program. You can also send your contributions by Western Union, and you can send by MMG, and you can send by MoneyGram. But if you intend to send by MoneyGram, make contact with me so we can work out how you will send it. MoneyGram is a problematic place, right? That said, it's 2 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. And while I wait, I'm reminded that it's Christmas. And so let me see if I find Slingshot. Dre Paul, I think is his name, eh?
Christmas morning, liming with my friends and family, greeting everyone around, eating, dancing, getting down, spending week Christmas in Guyana, watching all the little children running up and down, playing excitedly with their toys, making sure we get we share of curry, goat and rum, shoplift hands and dominoes with the boys. Yes, man. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Everybody there soca dancing. Masquerade band coming down. Mother Sally prancing round. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas! Dancing, drinking ginger beer, jumping, winding up the boomsy in and out. Sneaking in the kitchen to see what grandma cooking, putting something hot inside me mouth. Ow! There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Garlic coke and black fruit cake baking. Plenty sorrel and moggy, ice apple and enough sweet tea. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Hey, Captain Paul, how black eye boy? Hey, sure. Merry Christmas, boy. Ho, ho, ho. Christmas come, Marco and them boys are wrong, drinking rum and telling old time story. Neville Budan is the man, Christmas he just killed two rum, we eating long roti with chip curry, not pepper. Nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Good friends already gathering, eating lamb and meat well done, drinking wine and XM rum, spending week Christmas in Guyana. Welcome, boys. Cheers. On the plane, I drinking booze. Pilot said for call Santa Cruz. Ingrid begging me to make a stop. She don't want no Callaloo. Trinidad Pillow won't do it. Chinese met them G and pepper back for G. There's nothing like me home on Christmas morning. Liming with my friends and family. Greeting everyone around. Eating, dancing, getting down. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Spending week Christmas in Guyana. Merry Christmas.
Yes, it's now 3 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. That means it's a wrap. Season's greetings, compliments of the season. I'm thinking we can do a Christmas Day show. A special greetings show. But I'm trying to decide what time of the day is best. Maybe after lunch on Christmas. Well, welcome to the program, Dolly Jones. I always take you to places you have never gone before. And so don't be surprised. That is the first time you're seeing it. It's a popular one though. What's his name? I think he's John Dre Paul, Slingshot. I can't remember his first name, but definitely Dre Paul. So join me tomorrow morning for another program of Buxtonian Morning Time. And we're going to have Dr. Hines in the house, and so most likely he and I will be talking about that landslide victory that Orby Norton got. And next steps and things. But I want us to do a special Christmas show greetings. Maybe we can do it Friday. Christmas postcard kind of magazine program. You would share with us some of your Christmas traditions and stuff like that. I know there are lots of you here who are into the Christmas thing. So I want to give you the opportunity to share at this time of the year which is special to you. Have a great one yourself, and remember to be good and share the cheers. Don't be selfish. Don't waste. Remember that there are people who are in need in as much as you would be wasting. So keep that